Do we want to review our GPP lineups from yesterday? No, we don't. But that's exactly what we're going to do.
I suffer from a debilitating condition known as atropic chalkitis.
Peter's one of the greatest depositors I've ever seen.
Trust the process. Let's go. Let's go.
I got auto match with Levitan. This is bullshit.
If I just go the other way in that 66, I win all the money. All the money.
If I had 150 lineups, I'd win too.
Process over results.
Illuminati make a bitch go crazy. I don't know which one of these my baby. Bust down AP, cold spot bullets in your head like KD. Bust it, bitch go bust it. And I had 10 pints with me in Russia.
Hey everyone.
GM. Good morning, fellow degenerates. Good morning, Frederick. Holy cow. Denver says, this show is the only reason I came into work today. I feel like your employer should be giving me a kickback. If I'm putting your butt in their seats, can I get a promo code from your employer for getting Denver Schmidt to work? It is nice though, that if I can help make your morning more tolerable by me being miserable thinking about my DFS lineups, then this exchange is definitely worth it. Conman says, I would like to thank Kadarius Toney for all his fine work yesterday. Yeah, I was kind of shocked that Kadarius Toney became chalky later in the week. I saw Levitan had him in his cash game lineup, and I get it with Shepard out, and we've seen an insane ceiling from him. But yeah, he seems like one of those plays where you don't want to play him when he's popular because there's so much downside risk, whether it's via injury or punching someone or anything of that sort. 6 asks 211th place out of 1K. Does that count as a bank? No, it doesn't. I mean, 211th in the Millionaire Maker, I would allow you to say you banked. But out of 1K, yeah, just top 20th, just outside of top 20th percentile, no bank for you. I'm sorry. GM Worm, what's up, Worm? Yeah, Paul, James Conner was the king yesterday. I was writing the newsletter up this morning, and I generally write like one nugget, from each game. And it was just brutal and depressing how little fantasy scoring there was yesterday. Even Marquise Brown in that Ravens game, he did most of it in overtime. I mean, James Conner and Nick Chubb were kind of the only truly notable performances. Like going through some of those box scores yesterday was brutal. Like I was looking at the Giants box score. I think Daniel Jones had 110 yards passing. Kyle Rudolph led the team in targets. I mean, just a disaster of a J. Brian asking a very good kind of existential question. Is it really a GM? No, it's not. And I think we just all reflexively say it at this point. And we're trying to kind of will ourselves collectively into a GM mindset, which is, how we press forward after eating shit. I will say, week 9, we have one more game tonight. I can't, then we're halfway done. We're halfway done with the regular season. I saw a comment, I think from Iceman. He's already looking forward to my week 18 cash game grinder status. I am too. I am, about 6 more of these losing GPP weeks, and I will be completely ready to become a cash game bro. Imagine waking up being Michael Leone. I know. Shout out to Leone. He shipped the Thunderdome yesterday. I actually have his lineup pulled up. We can take a look at it. Just a super nice lineup for that contest. And Leone's the best. He's the best. Levitan said it too on Twitter. The fact that he can do the best projections and be such a strong tournament player across all different, field sizes and contest types is truly impressive. I am loath to say too many nice things about Leone publicly and, disarm myself in my typical cynicism, but Leone truly is the best. So shout out to Leone. Joey, why does every week suck balls? Another great question. And that's why we're all here. We're all here to try to figure out why every week sucks balls. Yeah, Austin Eckler and Rondell Moore can kick rocks, let them ride, and they fell off the bus. Yeah, I didn't play any Rondell Moore or Austin Eckler for that matter. I was on Christian Kirk in my main lineup, which I can pull up here, I was getting very excited about Christian Kirk because of that steam on Rondell Moore. And I just thought there were better options in that range. I liked both Hardman and Brandon Ayuk, and then paying up to get to Christian Kirk off of the Rondell chalk. We all want Rondell to be a thing. He's super fun, and he is going to be a very good NFL player, but he just does not have the role right now to warrant any kind of ownership steam. So this was the lineup I ran in the big spy. I did end up going with that Mahomes double stack. I didn't bring it back. I thought about Aaron Jones. I just didn't like it. I didn't like how it affected the rest of the lineup. I preferred to get up to Dalvin Cook here. So I was pretty happy with this lineup. From when we flip over the cards and see the percentages here, Mahomes sub 5%, Kelsey 7%, Hardman 6.4. I thought it was a really good spot to try to buy low on the Chiefs, just because Tyreek Hill was going to be very popular as a one-off. So getting a Mahomes double at these percentage points seemed very good to me. I did a little correlation with Marquise Brown, Dalvin Cook. Obviously, in hindsight, the Marquise Brown is just an atrocious play at 36%, just an egregious play. I think even in my wildest dreams, I would have thought, okay, maybe he gets steamed up to 18, 19%. To see him come in at 36% here it's just so disgusting. No one can victory lap the Marquise Brown play. We all sucked out in overtime. We sucked out on that ownership, because it was a very bad play. It sticks out like a sore thumb there. But thank God I did have it correlated. I also had the Christian Kirk and Brandon Ayuk mini correlation, which ended up being one of my favorite correlations on the slate. That one, worked out. And then Zach Moss, man, I fall for this Zach Moss trap every single week. It seems like the Bills have these massive team totals. Zach Moss projects well from a ceiling and price standpoint. No one ever wants to play him. Apparently, everyone is right because it doesn't make sense playing Zach Moss, although he was, I think, a little banged up in this game. I was kind of debating in a lot of lineups between Zach Moss and Chase Edmonds. They were both 5,300. In this lineup, I wanted to get up to Kirk, so I obviously used Moss, but in some of my other, like Allen double stacks, I ended up using Chase Edmonds there. And I did have one lineup with Carlos Hyde as well. I had to Galaxy Brain my way on to that. Let's see. Good morning, J Mike. How we doing? FF Doom says I scored 158 with Chase Edmonds. Asked me how I'm feeling today. Yeah, it was just one of those weeks where you can't even get upset about not avoiding the landmines, because 90% of the field was landmines. It was very gross. Holy cow, Hope Bishop just built my first cash shell. I kind of feel that, because probably after this, I do the first look salary review for Pat Mayo's channel, where I go through the DraftKings salaries on Mondays. And I'm like, it is so early to be doing this. But it's kind of fun. I get it. We're going to talk about a big shell mistake I actually made this week, a GPP shell. In my most expensive contest I played on my own, the Double Spy, I put in a shell GPP lineup I had created on my phone on Saturday night. So that's how this week went for me. Yeah, my account balance is starting to drip. I very carefully kind of hit it here with this Run the Sims banner. That's a feature, not a bug, to cover up my account balance up there. No, but that's the GPP life. We are we're playing for the big scores. We're going to hemorrhage some money. All we can do is TTP, trust the process, rub our faces in our shitty lineups on Monday mornings, and hope to move on. Let's see. How sharp of a pick was James Conner? I mean, I don't really think, well, I'll take that back. I mean, I was going to say, I don't really think he's in play, but his goal line role has been so good. But I do think on this week, the thesis that, with Colt McCoy, you had to assume they were going to have less goal line opportunities. You had to assume there would be more kind of quick hitters, short stuff, which is why Rondell Moore became so popular. I liked other plays in that range more. I think before I used Connor, obviously Chase Edmonds, Zach Moss, Carlos Hyde. I even would have probably gone to Javonte Williams next down there. But I get it. I mean, he leads the league in touchdowns. He has an insane goal line role. Obviously, he gets to 40 points because Chase Edmonds leads the game. So I don't think you can use his results to kind of say, oh, we should have been on James Conner. I mean, I think if Chase Edmonds stays healthy that entire game, he probably still scores, but having that kind of monster total in that work through the air is probably going to be hard to come by when Edmonds is healthy. Let's see here. Drew says, if I played Devonta Smith over Amari Cooper, I would have won the Millie Maker. Yeah, we were looking at the Millie Maker yesterday on Splash Play, and the winning Millie Maker lineup was pretty wild. There was one thing that was super. I had one lineup in the Millionaire Maker, so I can find it here. They had a Herbert stack and then didn't bring it back with Devonta Smith, and that shipped the Millie. Like, I couldn't believe this here. They played a double Miami stack without the quarterback Waddle and Gesicki. So Herbert to Keenan Allen with no Devonta Smith bring back. I mean, that is wild too. I mean, this just, I'm never building lineups like this. Whereas I might actually have a Herbert to Keenan with a Devonta Smith bring back and not having Waddle and Gesicki there. Truly a galaxy brain lineup here. Nick Chubb, Zach Moss, James Conner. This lineup kind of goes to show what this week was like. Only 205.34 points to take down the Millionaire Maker here. Conman says, Pete, I realize Brown sucked out, but is playing him at high ownership that bad when you correlate with lower owned Dalvin? Isn't that part of why we correlate? Yeah, for sure. And I actually wanted to have this conversation as it related to Nick Chubb, because I ended up playing some Nick Chubb, and I know we all collectively knew yesterday when we were building lineups in the morning and doing that show that Nick Chubb was getting steamed. But the way the slate was shaping up from a running back perspective, I don't think he was a super bad play, partly because we didn't have super good running back chalk like we've had on other weeks where we've had, a Darrell Henderson or a DeAndre Swift just projecting extremely well for their price tag. And on top of that, we knew that Ezekiel Elliott and Austin Eckler were going to be meaningfully more popular than Nick Chubb. So in that instance where he's going to come in third, at least in ownership, if not a little lower, of the top options, and you're correlating it with a non-chalky bring back, like we were doing a lot with Jamar Chase. That's what Leone had in his Thunderdome lineup. I think on a slate like this, that was perfectly justifiable. Now, for Marquise Brown, I don't think it is justifiable, even if you're correlating. Because if you want to make the correlation play, then play Mark Andrews, play Rashad Bateman. But Marquise Brown has that exact profile of a player that we don't want to play into high ownership. Just his style of play, how deep his ADOT is, he can really burn you. We want to be playing those guys, lower owned. And again, like I was saying, on a week like this, maybe sub 20%, we can start to justify it a little bit. But up here at 36.1%, I do truly think that's a bad play. And it's a big lesson learned. And we were talking about this on the Tilt Space last night. And, because what's happening is, I'm looking at my spreadsheet here and I see Lamar and Josh Allen is super popular. And then I head over to look at the pass catchers. And it's like, okay, Stephon Diggs can be popular. Josh Allen's going to be popular. That makes sense. That the people are going to want that stack. Then I'm looking at the Baltimore pass catchers and I'm like, Marquise Brown, we're seeing sub 10% ownership. Mark Andrews, sub 10%. And I'm always trying, are people running out naked Lamar? Are people just splitting, Andrews and Marquise Brown so evenly in their stacks that it's spreading out their ownership? That was not the case. And a few different things that I think are really good lessons to take away. And I remember Drewby saying this on a podcast he did earlier this year. I like listening to him and Davis on the Sports Grid podcast do an early run through. They normally post it on Wednesdays or Thursdays going through the slate. And he said something about how single entry ownership often follows the cash game construction. And we've also talked a lot about how, say, like Andrew Wiggins, his style of GPP construction is basically taking the optimal and then making a few pivots off of that. And I think a lot of hand builders, single entry players are building lineups in that style. And so they're saying, hey, Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen are the best quarterback options on the slate. I want to play these guys in tournaments. How am I going to get unique, right? Like everyone in cash is playing Amari Cooper, but I have my stack with Lamar Jackson. I'll stack him up with Marquise Brown, a GPP play, a volatile guy that no one's going to play. But when everyone is following that same logic, then the obvious stack partner just gets incredibly steamed. And we already saw this happen with Jalen Hurts and Devonta Smith a couple of weeks ago, where you're staring at the ownership projections. Jalen Hurts is the chalk quarterback. And then you're looking at Devonta Smith sub 10%. You're like, this is perfect. I'm getting the best quarterback play and his number one receiving option sub 10%. But that everyone is having that same thought. So I really think as a check now, when we see these top couple of quarterbacks, whether we're manually boosting the ownership, whether our ownership providers are adjusting to this new idea, but we really have to assume that the most attractive pass catcher for the chalk quarterback, that ownership is going to get steamed. We're always trying to figure out what are the kind of things getting steamed, whether it's just industry sentiment or buzz or injury news, and that's causing it. In this case, it is truly the projection on the top quarterbacks is just absolutely pulling along the top pass catchers. And it does get tricky in the case of Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert, in the case of Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews, where neither of them are separating as the obvious stack option. That's where I think the ownership's getting split and we get lulled into a false sense of confidence of, oh, this is actually going to be pretty unique. When in actuality, people are getting funneled there. And I think, sorry to belabor this so much, but I think it's something interesting to discuss. But the reason why I think Marquise Brown got steamed so hard and Mark Andrews didn't was slate contextual relative to how much value and how many good plays there were at the tight end position. So people were saying, look, I'll eat the Albert O chalk and I'll play Marquise Brown. Again, that's what Leone had in his Thunderdome lineup. Or people were saying, hey, I'll play Waller, I'll play Goddard or whatever. So I think if we really thought this through, it's like Lamar Jackson is chalky. There's a ton of good options at tight end. Ding, ding, ding. Marquise Brown is going to be super fucking popular in tournaments. So lesson learned there. This was a bad play. We sucked out on it. I think there were other ways to attack this spot in a smarter way. And that was kind of getting lazy. And this is another one of those things where how much of this is an art versus a science, right? Where you're just staring at the spreadsheet and the numbers, you're like, yeah, looks like a good play, and not really thinking through the contextual reasons of why that number might be wrong. I need to take a break after that. I need some fresh coffee too. Oh no. Oh no. How important are defense versus positions or matchups between quarterback, wide receiver? I'm going to assume you're asking this question at face value. Because I agree with you. You say it seems the narrative is they don't matter at all, but when I used to concentrate on actually, I don't agree with you. I thought you were going to say they don't matter at all. If you look, we've done the whole do defenses matter, do wide receiver cornerback matchups matter, their bits, their memes at this point. I do not have any part of my skill set that is able to dissect that kind of stuff and think I have even any edge whatsoever in doing that. And someone asked me that question too in the Fantasy Life Q&A yesterday. And it's like, who am I to know which cornerbacks are going to guard which wide receivers, how the offense is going to move players around, move guys into the slot, screen them bubble screens. Think about all the creative ways that the Falcons are getting Cordell Patterson the ball right now, all the creative ways that the 49ers are getting Deebo Samuel the ball right now, how Cooper Kupp is getting 10 plus catches and 12 plus targets in every single game. I'm not in that game of trying to parse that stuff out. It's just not something that I think I'm good at, but I was talking about that with Hodge on on Friday. And I heard Lord Reeves talking about that with Leone on their podcast. I actually want to get Reeves on. Maybe I'll book Reeves for Friday, because that stuff he's actually been looking at a lot closer and seeing if there's kind of some micro edges there with that defensive stuff. I see everyone, the hot topic this morning is how teams are slowing down the Chiefs and the Bills with this cover 2 shell, which I just read to figure out what that means. And I find it a little silly, like if people are taking away the deep ball under, then you're just going to feast underneath. And haven't we seen that dynamic play out with the Chiefs? If a team takes out Tyreek Hill, well, then Travis Kelce racks up 10 catches underneath, or they're checking down to the running back more. So I don't know. There's always going to be a push and pull to what can be exploited there. So I'm not sure this is a new meta or not, but I don't want to rule out that there aren't some micro edges there that might not be fully baked in to projections. I know the ETR guys feel strongly that a lot of, offensive line, defensive line stuff isn't fully baked in to analysis and projections, that it's kind of a bit of a black box kind of mystery right now, and that more of that stuff could be teased out and point us in the right direction for how that stuff actually impacts football games in a tangible way. So I'm going to make a note. I have lots of notes I've made. I'm going to invite Reeves on for Friday's show, and we're going to talk about cover 2 defenses. I'm not even kidding. I want to hear what stuff he's been looking at, and Reeves is super sharp with that stuff. And I also know has low key been playing a lot of DFS. So I'm kind of curious how he's actually applying that stuff, which should be interesting here. What do you think were the sharpest plays yesterday once ownerships were revealed? Yeah. So again, not to pat myself on the back here, I did think the Christian Kirk and Brandon Ayuk stuff was very interesting. The Ayuk especially, because everything was kind of trending right for him, where basically every skill position player for the 49ers was banged up, or there were rumors that they were going to be on some kind of snap count. Jeff Wilson was activated. Eli Mitchell was questionable all week. They were saying that could be a split. Deebo Samuel, Kyle Shanahan said this is the worst his calf injury had been all year, and he might be on a snap count. George Kittle was coming back, and they said they were going to only use him in high leverage situations. So I'm sitting here and like, okay, Brandon Ayuk is the only fully healthy guy in this pass corps. And then on top of that, people were really excited to play Rondell Moore at the same price point. So I thought Ayuk was a really good play. I thought Jamar Chase was a super good play. Let's see if I can find a lineup here. Do I have a Jamar Chase lineup? Well, we can just look at, Leone's actually isn't a good example because of how small that contest is. Where's my Jamar Chase? Do I not have a Jamar Chase? So this is the other, my egg on my face play from this week. I put the wrong lineup in my double spy contest. I had basically built out a tournament shell last night, a lineup that was this Josh Allen double stack. And I ended up, when I was going to import the new Josh Allen double stack I made on Sunday mornings, I pulled the wrong one. And so then I end up with this lineup, which was basically like my GPP ideas lineup. So anyways, we can talk about that in a sec, but I think it's an interesting question from Drew. I also thought Dalton Schultz was one of the best plays on the slate because of that same thing. We had Blake Jarwin removed. I feel like that didn't get enough publicity. We had Amari Cooper, who was going to be super popular, and Dalton Schultz was projecting really well. Like once you remove Jarwin from the conversation there, and you're getting him at 5% in a game where the Cowboys have a big implied team total and obvious leverage on some of those other chalky guys, to me, that was one of the better plays of the slate as well. So we can look at this lineup here. This was that Dak double stack that I talked about yesterday, Dak, Lamb, and Schultz. I was having a really hard time deciding who to bring it back between Judy and Sutton, and I actually preferred Sutton slightly, but that salary difference ended up being important on this lineup. I ended up doing here, running out two of the Vikings in this lineup just because this is, I thought about, leaving the door open here for playing Rondell later. And I just decided that once Sammy Watkins was ruled out, I felt comfortable with that projection. So doing a little mini here with Jefferson and Bateman. And then I just played kind of two of my one-off running backs that I liked in Josh Jacobs and Zach Moss. So pretty happy with the percentages on this lineup. And I was able to use that to kind of get up to Dolphins D. Defense was interesting because early in the week, Dolphins D projected pretty chalky. But then when it became obvious that everyone was going to play Chiefs and 49ers, Dolphins D at 2.1% at 3,100. Pretty happy with that. Let's see here. I'm trying to catch up on the chat. Ayuk would have been even less owned, but he got some coverage Saturday, Sunday morning. Yeah, I mean, and I can't be upset. Even at 6% in the SPY, I mean, that's not a ton of buzz there. He was kind of the perfect GPP play in that, general sentiment on him has been down as well. T-Tid says Chase dropped a couple deep balls, so that is such a results-oriented thing if people are upset with that selection. Yeah, no, I mean, Jamar Chase was a great play. It's basically the pricing is just tempting people into not playing him every week because it's like, oh, he's getting more expensive. T. Higgins is projecting extremely well. Let's us all go back to T. Higgins because he's getting the volume. So yeah, as long as Jamar Chase is sub 10%, like we've seen enough with his role, with his playmaking ability, with his role in the red zone, to where he's just pretty much a jam anytime he's going to be sub 10%. Drew liked the Schultz, Javonte Williams mini correlations, and Devonta Smith and Keenan Allen were really sharp at ownerships. Yeah, I feel like I was on Mike Williams, and again, I think that's another one of Keenan Allen projects well, and I think the base ownership projections are normally kind of mapped onto how often his projection is showing up into optimals. And because he projects well, he ends up carrying like a decent ownership. And then we flip over the cards on Sundays and he's never that popular. What was he in this Millie lineup? 7%. So yeah, I mean, and we also kind of, I think, are now readjusting to that narrative where early in the season, it was like, oh, Mike Williams is now the 1A here. And that's now not seeming like the case. Keenan Allen, I think, had 12 targets yesterday. So I completely agree. The Devonta Smith, Keenan Allen as the pivot off of the super chalky Austin Eckler. And then the week finally everyone got off Devonta Smith, I think made a ton of sense. Is Higgins dust? Yeah, man. I don't know. He's probably not dust, but I think it's weird too, like with the Higgins stuff, because I feel like we all associated him last year as this like big playmaking, explosive wide receiver, and now when you watch him, it's like, is this Robbie Anderson or is this T. Higgins? Like he had that feel last year. It was like him and Chase Claypool broke onto the scene and we're just making all these big plays. And now I don't know if it's something with his usage and stuff, or if Jamar Chase, just in comparison, he looks slow and unexplosive compared to him. I don't know. Someone who watches the tape, tell me what's going on with T. Higgins. Oh, wow. I made the Robbie Anderson comment without ever even seeing your comment. So yeah, we were in lockstep with that. I will say, and I tweeted this, Robbie Anderson on that chase down interception looked pretty fast. I think he still has it. Yeah, this is just what I was talking about with Mike Williams. His targets have just completely dropped off compared. And now he's kind of back. His ADOT has also changed. He was getting used, like they always talked about, oh, he's going to be the Michael Thomas in this Staley offense or whatever. And he was getting used like that early on, but now he's down back to that kind of deep downfield role, which I think still makes him a good tournament option, but his price is really expensive now for what you're getting from a target perspective. Let's check out the Deposit Kingdom League. This was my lineup that I messed up and put into both of the Double Spy and the Deposit Kingdom, but who gives a shit about my lineup? Let's look at the winners here. Shout out to J3 Wah. I believe someone in the Discord actually messaged me and said they were very excited. It was Creative NFT. This was his buddy who took this down. So congratulations on winning the largest Deposit Kingdom Weekly League ever here. This lineup is pretty fun. Did a Chargers onslaught here with Eckler, Cook, and Allen. We had a long conversation about this on the Tilt Space about these onslaughts and when they might be viable. So I want to kind of get into that. I think what's interesting here is no Philadelphia bring back, but you did get the Nick Chubb and the Higgins correlation, played a one-off Marquise Brown, and then a one-off Hunter Renfrow and the Chiefs chalky defense. So ate a decent amount of chalk on this lineup. I do like that in this field size with 500, I think it's starting to get to the point where a game onslaught without a bring back might be getting a little dicey, because you're basically saying, like, if Herbert, Eckler, Cook, and Allen all reach their ceilings, someone on Philadelphia is going to be having a good game to help facilitate that. So I guess that would be my only criticism here. In a perfect world, you just pivot Marquise Brown to Devonta Smith, and then you're really cooking. But yeah, this is a nice lineup. The Chubb and Higgins correlation obviously makes a ton of sense. This is one of those things too, where in a lot of other contests, the Chiefs D were like 30%. But because, we said don't eat the the Chiefs chalk, I think they came in much lower in this contest. So maybe if you're going to eat chalk, doing it in the Galaxy Brain Deposit Kingdom GPP is probably the place to do it. But yes, congratulations to J3 Waugh. What did Hunkler have here? Had the other more kind of popular construction with a Lamar Jackson stacked to Marquise Brown, bringing it back. Double stack to Mark Andrews, and then bringing it back with Justin Jefferson. I think that's obviously a good stack here. Oh, wow. Got onto James Conner. How did you do that, Hunkler? I would be curious if this was a late swap or not. I'm guessing it wasn't a late swap because Lamar Jackson, that stack already hit, relative to this contest size. Jacobs was fine. So then you roll into the 4 p.m. hour with just the Ayuk Connor mini. I mean, absolutely too sharp. That's pretty crazy. Really nice play there. Obviously James Conner at 0.6%. Let's see. Austin here also had the Justin Herbert double, but he did that bring back I was talking about. So I like this a lot. Justin Herbert to Cook and Allen. Cook and Conklin were the other guys down there that projected really well. Obviously, Akui Bunam getting all the attention. But Cook in this pivot to Allen in this lineup with the Devonta Smith bring back, I think was really sharp. Does Zeke and Kamara, so getting up to some of the higher end running backs, and then Waddle and Renfro as one-offs here. So again, this is these lineups are very similar to what I think ended up working out well yesterday, which was playing a pretty chalky lineup with just a couple of pivots. So basically ate a lot of chalk in some spots with Zeke and Renfro, but then really got unique elsewhere. I think getting up to Kamara here at 7% is really nice. I see King Coakley here. My guy, Rob, he had the Lamar Jackson skinny stack, bring it back with Dalvin Cook. He had that Chubb Higgins correlation, which proved to be popular, willing to eat the Akui Bunam chalk here, played Brandon Ayuk. Nice play. And then his team was, riding high heading into the late slate. So he let Eckler roll here in his flex. Any other names? There's Drew here. Drew got on the Lamar Jackson stack here. There was the Conklin play I was just talking about. Look at this. Look in this field. I mean, Conklin was what, like 4 or 5% everywhere else. He's 16.4% in the Deposit Kingdom League. That's funny. Getting on a one-off Aaron Jones. The Nick Chubb Browns D correlation was really good. Actually ended up being the better correlation than Nick Chubb with the Bengals wide receivers. Man, I thought DJ Moore was a good play. I didn't put him in any lineups just because the pieces didn't fit to me, but DJ Moore at 2.2%, hard to complain about that. I see Ed Mass from the Discord had a nice lineup here. Wow. Kept the faith on Elijah Mitchell. That was a tough play for me to pull the trigger on, just with so much uncertainty with his ribs and Jeff Wilson coming back. But man, Jeff Wilson didn't play at all. Hasty stayed in his pass catching role. So Eli Mitchell there at 1.4%. Man, look at some of these plays. Donovan Peoples-Jones at 2.2%. Another guy that wasn't on my radar, but a really nice play there with the Higgins correlation, Dalvin Cook, Marquise Brown correlation, and the one-off Christian Kirk. Really like this lineup by Ed Mass here. Any other lineups we should take a peek at up here? I see Corey here, 150.94. Corey, you're a fraud. All you did was talk about Mahomes double stacks all week, and then you ran a Lamar Jackson double stack. Explain yourself, sir. Explain yourself. I see Serum here. Yeah, man, Lamar Jackson, that was what you needed. Apparently yesterday, lots of Lamar Jackson lineups here. Let's see. And yeah, I did want to just take a quick peek at Leone's lineup here. And again, this is a 30-person contest. And Leone has talked about too how he's trying to de-risk a little bit with the Galaxy Brain in the Thunderdome. And I thought this lineup, and obviously it's easy to say in hindsight because it shipped 50K, but it looks chalky, you know, when you look at it, partly because the ownership numbers are just going to be higher relatively in a 40 or 30 person field. But he also took some really big stands off the chalk, you know, when Zeke and Eckler were the two most popular running backs, and he doesn't have those guys. When no one is basically playing the Jamar Chase and Brandon Ayuk and Texans D. And we were talking about this on the Tilt Space, where normally you would never want to eat the Albert O chalk up at 56%, but it truly was the last piece of the puzzle to make this lineup work, where there's nowhere else to go down at defense. When you have the Lamar Jackson double and Dalvin Cook, you like the Chubb and Jamar Chase correlation. You have 4,100 here that you could have used on Ayuk or Hardman or Rondell. So that spot's taken care of. It leaves you with 26 to 2,800 at tight end. So in this situation too, I understand completely why you would eat the chalk in that spot, because you're not going to sacrifice all the other angles. Like we talk about, you know, what is your edge on a slate? And for Leone in this one, you know, he got his double stack and his bring back that he thought was an edge. He loved the Chubb Chase. So that was his next favorite thing. Like, you're not going to tear down all your favorite edges because of one specific play. So I do think this is a very good example of situations where the chalk can make sense if it facilitates the construction you want and the field size makes sense. You know, I think Albert O in super large field stuff at that higher percentage doesn't make sense, but in a 30-person field there, it's not as bad when in the spy you're saying like, okay, I'll play a 4v4 because I'm going to eat chalk in 5 spots, versus saying I'll play an 8v8 in a 30-person contest, which is basically what happens here when you eat the Albert O chalk. So not surprising that Leone constructed a very thoughtful and nice lineup here. So shout out to Leone. Yeah, 5,300 entry. I think sometimes the size of the contest will fluctuate a little bit. I believe this one was 30 people here, and it is generally cash game lineups in there. You know, you'll see a lot of just straight cash game lineups. Then you'll see kind of the Andrew Wiggins style, which is, you know, a cash game lineup with 1 to 2 pivots. And then you'll kind of see the Leone style here, which is basically building more of like this lineup is probably built to where you could have even had this in the juke, right? Like this lineup in the juke with, you know, say a 400 person entry field, I think is still a really strong lineup for the juke. And so then you're putting that into the Thunderdome. So you still have a decent amount of kind of leverage on the chalky spots in this contest. So I think a really nice lineup. Whereas I know what Leone said is before he was maybe even building his Thunderdome lineups as if they would be fine in the spy with, you know, 1,000 people and just being over leveraged kind of with some of your contrarian plays. So I think obviously this is a really nice middle ground there with this lineup. So shout out to Leone. Wanted to check on my owners club teams because we had a really interesting dynamic here. And you want to know how messed up this week was, where it's like The Colts Jets game is the game that goes nuclear for fantasy, and everything else bottoms out. So there was a big train in here. And I did see, like, looking at the leaderboard for how many people in the side hustle tossed in their Jets and Colts QB and running back cards. And you can just see here the top, how many teams here? The top 16 teams put that in. So you basically banked $75 if you had that. And to me, I feel pretty good about tossing mine into the main event, knowing that, look, the $75, sure, it's nice to lock in a profit there, but being able to have more of a chance to get the winning combos alongside these guys, I think was worth the upside in that contest. So I was wrestling with trying to bank with my Jets and my Colts going in the side hustle. Ultimately, I'm glad that I kept those in the main event. Decent week for me in here. Just, some lineups that scored well, just not having enough juice to really crash the party. I got Steelers defense going tonight, so this lineup will move up a little bit here. Obviously, the Bills stack completely implodes, so that was dead on arrival. None of my other side hustle stacks, Cowboys stack, Chargers stack, none of those got there. Did I do anything in low ball? Okay, I have one good low ball lineup going here, but it's going to get ruined tonight because I have Chicago. This one could hold on, maybe. Maybe could hold on. Titans running back ended up doing fine by low ball standards, up at 15 here. Just needed the right combos around some of these. Jags quarterback looks like it will be the nuts this week. Island of Misfit cards looks like I brick there as well. So GG. I'm still aiming to try to win one of these main event seats. Let's see what the winner had this week. Herzig Brian. I wonder if there's any relation there to one Mr. Justin Herzig. $2,000, just a full Thursday onslaught. Jets QB, Colts running back, Jets wide receiver, Jets tight end, and Patriots D. Incredible. And then the serial does come into play here because the top two lineups had that. So, man, the serial difference there, his cumulative serial 709, $1,000 swing there. But I'm sure Surefire isn't upset to take home $1,000 with that lineup there. Does TOC cost money or just the cards? Yeah, just the cards. So all of the contests are free to enter. And it is legitimate. Like, any money that I make, I've been putting back into the marketplace just because I end up wanting more cards. But it truly has, if you have, I don't know, like if you have, 3 to 4 good options at most positions, it has been profitable for me. I think I've now cashed like 3 or 4 straight weeks in a row. So they have the main event, which is the 5 lineup. They have the side hustle, which is any 2 positions. Then they have the full lineup, but low ball. And then the Island of Misfit cards, which is just tight end and defense. But yeah, I've been having fun with it. I've upgraded my process in that I'm actually pulling in the projections now and kind of trying to hack together some optimal lineups and then seeing where I can make pivots. And they also have the ownership in here as well. So you can kind of take a peek. Obviously, ownership is capped because there is a finite number of each card. But you can see here, New York, let me go over. So New York quarterback was played 12.34% of the time. And the dynamic that I think is interesting in here and what I'm trying to think through from lineup construction is, Buffalo, the top quarterbacks are getting used, at the highest clip, myself included, using that. And so sometimes these secondary options, and I think Baltimore is probably a good example here, only getting used 8% of the time. And so there are some interesting things that happen here that's interesting relative to DFS, where you can kind of arbitrage that, where obviously Baltimore was a super popular play, Baltimore QB on the DFS slate, but it's only getting used here 8%, and people are using more Chiefs, more Los Angeles, more Buffalo. So there's some fun stuff with that. And running back, everyone using their running back, their 16.17%, which accounts for the jokers as well. Corey says, what kind of investment would it take to have a strong set of cards to play? Yeah, it's a good question. We can go to the marketplace and you can just get an idea of, what it would take to do that. So you have right here, like Indianapolis running back. So 0.049 ETH. So that's about 233 USD. But there are basically bargains every week. So I had bought a Los Angeles running back card for really cheap earlier because they were projecting a lot better than the price. Oops, that's Los Angeles American. What I'm trying to say is that there are discounts relative to the weekly projection if you're wanting to go shopping. So down here, like, yeah, so Los Angeles running back 0.0088, $41. So what I would recommend is, like, sure, if you wanted to approach this from the most positive EV way, it would be to go and buy low on some of these position groups that aren't getting as much attention. Like, you're going to have to pay through the nose to get Indianapolis running back right now. One card that was expensive for a little while was Green Bay wide receiver. And I wonder if there'll be a little dip now, just with kind of the Jordan Love throwing people off the scent. So yeah, like, you can get Green Bay wide receiver for, 0.0095. So what I would be doing, I would be just completing a few different stacks. If I was going to the marketplace, so say I buy Green Bay wide receiver, so that's going to cost you about $45. And then you can head over to quarterback. Let's see what Green Bay quarterback is right now. So you can get Green Bay quarterback for 0.012. So yeah, you're looking, I would say I've been winning about $75 to $100 a week. And you can put together some nice stacks, I think, for less than that. So if you're going to get I would say if you're going to do it, hop in earlier, because then you get to actually use those cards for the rest of the season. And then you can actually have more chances to profit. So yeah, I will, I'll share some of my projections in the Discord this week too. If anyone wants to see those and help with their lineup building. And yeah, we have the Owners Club channel in the Discord. I think that is going to be it for me this morning. No splash play this afternoon because we did splash play last night. So if you missed that, always fun recapping the week with Spags. I am going to go finish the Fantasy Life newsletter, and we will be back tonight. I'll do a showdown cram. Have been having a ton of fun with those. Last night was actually kind of a gut punch because I know all of us Run the Sims bros were having a really nice first half. Lots of winning lineups, and then it all evaporated in the second half. So we'll take another stab at it tonight with the Bears and the Steelers. Basically, what I like to do is get a feel for the slate in the afternoon, and I post the best leverage plays in the Run the Sims channel in the Discord, where I'm comparing how often they're showing up in the Sims relative to aggregated ownership projections across the industry, just to get a really good feel of what everyone's going to be doing. And then I update those after inactives and share what I find on the show. So if you want early inside peek, hop in the Run the Sims Discord with us. You guys can run those Sims and get a good feel for the slate. I'm getting close, by the way, to 10,000 subs. I never asked for people to sub or like, but it would be very fun to get to 10,000 subs. So if you're watching this and haven't subscribed yet, I'd really appreciate it. I will be talking to DraftKings to get the week 10 Deposit Kingdom League up, so you can stay tuned for that. And I've been posting that in the Discord and in the show notes of videos. Probably going to keep it roughly the same size this week. It was a little slower to fill. So once we start filling it on a Saturday, we can keep making it bigger. But I think we're looking at about another 500 person GPP this week. I'm done talking. I'm done rambling. Appreciate hanging out with all of you guys on Monday mornings as always. We'll catch you later.